My name is Courtney Curtis, and I am an Indiana State University nursing student. Today, my PSA is on suicide prevention, and while the population at risk is anyone, this presentation would be given to high school age students, college age students, or could be given at a local community center. My learning objectives for this PSA are to understand the importance of suicide prevention strategies, to be able to identify if a person is at risk for suicide and know how to help them, and to be able to list resources for support of suicide prevention as well as coping and stress. I would like you to pause and check out your PreTest. It is a 10-question multiple choice test, and we'll see what you already know about suicide prevention. I would also like you to check out your brochure. Here is a screenshot I have showing you the inside of the brochure, and it has your risk factors, warning signs, how to help, as well as 2 articles to reference for more information, and we will go over each of these things individually throughout this presentation. So first we have our risk factors. There are risk factors for suicide. One of the main ones is a previous history of self-harm or a previous suicide attempt. Unfortunately, if somebody has displayed these types of behaviors towards themselves or has attempted suicide in the past, they are way more likely to attempt suicide again. Substance abuse, whether it's of alcohol or other drugs, are all risk factors for suicide. Mood disorders, 2 of the big ones are depression and bipolar disorder. Unfortunately, someone who deals with those disorders are more likely to commit suicide or attempt suicide than someone without those disorders. Anyone who has traumatic events happen to them, or a history of traumatic events, could be death in the family, could be loss of a job, it could even be a breakup or a divorce. Unfortunately, these events can really affect people negatively and can be risk factors for suicide. And the last is chronic illness. There's also a range here. It can be from, terminal illnesses like cancer, and it can even be something just as like chronic pain. So not only are there risk factors, but there are also warning signs for suicide. And if you are able to identify warning signs in your peers, you can literally save someone's life. So there are many warning signs. One is someone who makes comments about death, dying, and suicide. They don't necessarily have to be morbid, but any comments referring to those 3 things, especially somebody who does it a lot, that would be a warning sign. Comments about being hopeless or worthless. This is someone you may look at them and just think they're maybe depressed. They make kind of those sad comments, just, oh, I can never get it right. Oh, I'm so helpless. I'm so hopeless. Things like that are warning signs for suicide. There are also more direct expressions, such as, oh, my family would be better off without me. I'm such a burden to my family. Things like that are major warning signs that someone might be considering suicide. Other things are reckless behavior and increased substance abuse. Someone may start to go down what would be considered a downward spiral if they start displaying these behaviors, and if they start considering suicide, this could be a clue. As well as dramatic mood changes, someone who gets really upset, really angry, who's really on edge, really irritable. Those can be beginning signs of someone who's considering suicide, and these are all really important things to look out for. So how do you help someone who may be suicidal? What do you do if you think someone's suicidal? As uncomfortable as it may sound, you should directly ask someone if they are considering suicide. Their response to you will be very telling. It has been proven that asking someone if they are considering suicide is effective. People will either possibly hesitate or give you kind of a clue that that is what they're considering, even if they don't want to outright say it. But you will find that many people will start to talk to you about what they're going through and what they're feeling if you directly ask them. If you think someone is suicidal, or if they tell you they are, you want to reduce access to lethal means. This would be guns, substances that can cause them to die, any kind of weapon. You would want to reduce their access to them. The best thing you can do is to just be there for them. Be there to support them. Stay with them. If you do need to call authorities or anything like that, stay with the person. Never, ever leave them alone until they have help or family to be there for them, and just listen to them. And not only in this moment where you think they're suicidal or they are wanting to attempt suicide, after they reach out for help, after they maybe seem like they're better, continue to follow up with this person and make sure that they're okay. And help them reach out for professional help. You know, you should be there for them too, but they really need to maybe go see a therapist, a psychiatrist, any means of professional help. And if you need to, if you feel like they are actively going to try to commit suicide, call 911. If you are ever unsure or you think that someone is unsafe, even if it's through a Facebook post, call 911. And one of the last things you can do, and one of the most important things to do, would be to call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And there's the phone number here for you. If you Google suicide, suicide prevention, anything regarding suicide, it is the first thing that will pop up. So if you think that someone is suicidal, I would call this lifeline. The person at the other end of the phone is highly trained to help with these situations. And unless you think that someone is in immediate danger, you could call this line even before you call 911. But if you think that someone is in immediate danger, always call 911 first. I want you to go ahead and pull out your post-test now. It's another 10-question multiple choice quiz. It's the same as the pre-test. And go ahead and fill this out and then compare your answers. See what you've learned. Did you already know everything? And last but not least, I have 2 resources here for you to access for more information about suicide prevention. The first is through suicidepreventionlifeline.org. This specific article is about how to help someone else. How do you help someone who is displaying that they may be suicidal? It also has risk factors, warning signs, prevention strategies, and more places to reach for information. And the general website has a ton of information. The other resource I have here for you is through the National Institute of Mental Health. This article is specifically about suicide prevention topics, and has more tips on what to do if you personally feel that you are considering suicide, or if you are in a situation with someone who is considering suicide.